Not enough minerals.
Finally, some backup. Look, I need to get rid of this infestation before it spreads to the rest of the planet. The infested come out at night, but they can't survive the daylight. Use that time to take out their structures.
Chrono boost online. Our structure should now operate at a greater efficiency. Mineral quantity insufficient.
We're almost out of daylight. Once the sun sets, the infested will come knocking on our door. That's the last of the sunlight. Our defenses have to hold until the night is over.
Mineral quantity insufficient.
Beware of those chokers. They'll stun and kill your forces after pulling them in.
Army upgraded.
I have been working on
Forces
something.
in combat.
Enjoy.
Not enough minerals.
Chrono boost activated. Our structure should research and create units much more quickly now.
New technology researched. Allied forces in combat. Mineral quantity insufficient. Upgrade completed. Allied forces in combat.
Do not be alarmed. This is only scheduled.
Completed. Allied forces in combat.
The night's almost over. We'll be safe to move out again in the daytime. Okay, Commanders. We need to destroy enough structures today to stay ahead of the infestation. I've already marked a few for you.
I've identified our enemy's Protoss.
Sending you the coordinates for more structures.
Allied forces in combat. New technology. Allied forces in combat.
I am activating Chrono Boost now. That should greatly increase the output of our structures.
Not enough minerals. Upgrade completed.
I call this the apocalypse.
Forces
Sealed in action.
Allied forces.
Looks like the sun's about to
in
set.
combat.
Get ready for nightfall. Detecting more structures at this location.
Allied forces in
There's still a lot of
combat.
infestation left, but we'll get every last bit of it.
We share your structure on a
Allied
dime.
forces in combat.
Just keep fighting, Commanders. We'll make it through the night.
Allied forces in combat.
You sure you want to do that at night, Commanders? The infested will be here any minute.
This point under enemy attack. Allied forces in combat. Allied forces in combat. Access point under enemy attack. Allied forces in combat.
The infested are trying to break through one of our barricades. The Marines named these ones kaboomers. The acid spit is bad enough, but just wait until they explode.
Allied forces in combat. Army upgrade.
Infestation does have its strengths.
In combat. Allied forces in combat. Allied forces in combat. Protoss forces now in combat. More minerals. Access point.
Amon's supporting the infested with his own forces. It's gonna be a long night.
Now in combat. Nexus point under enemy. Not enough minerals. Allied forces in combat.
Daybreak is just around the corner. Hold the line until then.
Allied forces in combat.
We share your structures for a
Allied
time.
forces in combat. Upgrade completed. Allied forces.
I've got another sector with structures on my scanners. Let's get to work, commanders. We have to burn enough of the infestation today so that we don't fall behind.
More minerals required. All systems ready. Allied forces in combat. Taking flight.
Ah, coordinates. Very clever. Deploy our detection.
Allied forces in combat. Overrush. Calibrating. Assigning navigation. Order received. Taking flight. Overrush. Wolf die. Allied
Do not
forces
be alarmed.
in combat.
This is...
We're not done yet, commanders. Here's some more structures to burn out.
Allied forces in combat. Allied forces in combat.
Now this one, I am proud of.
Upgrade completed. Allied forces in combat. Allied forces in combat. Must be placed in power field. Must be placed in power field. Cannot warp there.
The day's gonna end soon, commanders.
Pilots of Allied forces in combat.
A lot of dead out there. Make sure that we don't join them. Don't get too bold out there. If our base falls to the infested, this planet will be lost. Looks like there's a virophage among the infested. Might be a good idea to kill it, but we can only do that at night. That virophage will burrow once the sun is up. It may take you more than one night to kill it.
Chrono boost online.
One of our barricades is being hit hard.
Nexus point under enemy attack. Cannot.
Like the hustle, but I'd advise against it, commanders. It'll be easier to take out the structures in the daytime. I'm seeing the infested gather at one of the barricades.
Allied forces in combat. Not enough. More minerals required.
Don't get too bold out there. If our base falls to the infested, this planet will be lost.
Attack. Not enough minerals. Allied forces in Nexus point.
They have underestimated our
Attack.
Detecting enemy Nidus worm.
Army upgraded. Allied forces in combat. Nexus point under enemy attack. Allied forces in combat. Allied forces. Mineral quantity insufficient.
Are you kidding me? Amon wants to attack us now too? Perfect.
In combat.
You sure you want to do that at night, Commanders? The infested will be here any minute. Won't be long now. We just have to survive until dawn.
Allied forces in combat. Allied forces in combat. I soar again. Order received. Calibrating. Allied forces in combat. Low die. Protoss forces now in contact. Taking flight. Assigning navigation. Low die. Order received. Army upgraded. Allied forces in combat. Over.
Looks like we can find additional structures here.
Order received. Taking flight. Low die. Flying. Elevated. Order received. Overrush.
Chrono boost activated. Our structures should research and create units much more quickly now.
Forces in combat. My will is my own upgrade. I return to the skies.
Many of my invested have fallen soon.
Army upgraded.
About half of the infestation has been cleared out. Don't give up.
Allied forces in combat. Allied forces in combat. Overrush. Allied forces in combat. Order received. I soar again.
Another day is coming to an end.
Low die. Allied forces in combat. Allied forces in combat.
I knew the infestation was bad. This is crazy. Hold them off. I like the hustle, but I'd advise against it, Commanders. It'll be easier to take out the structures in the daytime.
Allied forces in combat. Target in range. Allied forces in combat.
I call this the apocalypse sealed in
Allied
action.
forces in combat. Additional Vespine gas. Nexus point under enemy attack. Nexus point forces.
Enemy Nidus worm detected.
Allied forces in combat. Nexus
Infestation does have its strengths.
Allied forces in combat. Allied forces in combat. Justice is served. Allied forces in combat.
Now, I command the Alexander.
Nice job, Commanders. Now we don't have to worry about the virophage after we clear out the structures.
combat. Under enemy attack. Allied forces in combat. Allied forces Nexus combat. Under enemy attack. Allied forces in combat. Need more Vespine gas.
Looks like Amon wants a piece of us too. Get those defenses in place.
Nexus point.
I am activating Chrono Boost.
Detecting enemy Nidus worm.
The infested can attack us all they want. Soon, it's gonna be our turn.
Forces now in combat. Need more.
Carrier has arrived. Justice is served.
Nexus point under enemy attack. Allied forces in
Sunrise,
combat.
that's our cue to move. We won't have enough time later if we destroy too few structures today.
Awaiting the call. Victory.
Allied forces in combat. Allied forces in combat.
Justice is served.
Insufficient. Allied forces in combat. Additional Vespine gas required.
We are ready. Justice is served.
Insufficient.
Let us proceed.
Cannot warp there.
Victory awaits. Carrier has arrived. We are poised for victory.
Allied forces in combat.
To victory. Justice is served.
Allied forces in combat.
Time is now. Awaiting.
It's almost nighttime.
Allied forces.
Be ready for the infested.
Or Vespine gas
Sending you the coordinates for more structures.
in combat.
Justice is served.
Allied forces in combat. Allied forces.
Here come the infested. We have to hold them off until sunrise.
Nexus point under enemy attack.
Now this one, I am proud of. Infestation does have its
Allied
strengths, you
forces
know.
in
Carrier
combat.
has arrived.
Don't get too bold out there. If our base falls to the infested, this planet will be lost.
Allied forces in combat. Target in range. Nexus point under enemy attack. Taking flight. Allied forces in combat.
Enemy Nidus worm detected.
You sure you want to do that at night, Commanders? The infested will be here any minute.
Nexus point under enemy attack. Allied forces in combat.
I am activating Chrono Boost now. That should greatly increase the output of our structures.
Under enemy attack.
To victory.
Protoss forces now in combat. Allied forces in combat.
Like the hustle, but I I'd advise against it, Commanders. It'll be easier to take out the structures in the daytime.
We are poised for Nexus point under enemy attack. Allied forces in Nexus point under enemy attack. Protoss forces now in combat. Nexus point under enemy attack. Allied forces in combat.
You sure you want to do that at night, Commanders? The infested will be here any minute.
Attack. Nexus point under enemy attack.
Are you kidding me? Amon wants to attack us now too? Perfect.
Nexus point under enemy attack.
Enemy Nidus worm detected.
Allied forces in combat.
Do this, Commanders. It's almost sunrise.
Nexus point allied forces in combat. Additional Protoss forces now in combat. Nexus allied forces in combat.
Sunrise. That's our cue to move. We won't have enough time later if we destroy too few structures today.
Allied forces in combat. Mineral cluster. Nexus point under enemy attack. Mineral field exhausted.
The infestation is almost gone, but we need to get the rest of it for this to work.
Allied forces in combat. Mineral cluster expended.
The Alexander.
Forces in
I am
combat.
glad you're out, little swordblades.
Army upgraded. Allied forces now in combat.
Justice is served.
Allied forces insufficient Vespine gas. Allied forces in combat. Allied forces in combat. Protoss forces now in combat. Protoss forces now in combat. Defeated. Allied forces in combat. Additional Vespine gas required. Allied forces in combat. Mineral field exhausted.
Justice is served.
Allied forces in combat.
Don't go out too far. There isn't much time left in the day.
Let us proceed. Awaiting.
Mineral cluster expended. Allied forces in combat.
Agreed. Battles won.
Allied forces in combat.
Detecting enemy Nidus worm.
Sit tight, Commanders. This night's just getting started. Don't get too bold out there. If our base falls to the infested, this planet will be lost.
Allied forces in combat. Allied forces in combat. Not enough energy.
That's the last of it. The planet's saved, Commanders, and we have you to thank.